How come nobody told me that Kurt Russell's stance on gun control is based? I've got two videos here from 8 years ago. The other one, this one, I don't know who the interviewer is. This guy, I guess. But everybody's been reacting to him the last few days, and, you know, I decided to watch it. I've already seen this one. I haven't seen the video on The View.
Yeah, I don't understand the concepts of conversation of the gun culture. We've lived with guns since, what, the 7th century or something? I don't know.
We all know that right now, guns is a trope. It's it's not a trope, it's a totem, it's a metaphor that disenfranchised white guys need. It makes them feel good because they're being
You can say what you want. I don't agree with that. So
I do feel good when I have guns. He's right about that, but that's not the reason why we have guns.
not my thing.
But it's
so,
statistically
well, you can look. If you think gun control or something like that is going to change a terrorist point of view, I think you're like out of your
Based.
mind. I think anybody is. I think it's absolutely insane. The problem we're having right now is that we don't have the concepts of how to turn it around and say.
Yeah, the problems that we're having right now is everybody's locked in their box and in their own little echo chamber, and they don't have any actual real problems.
You know, you may think you've got me worried about what you're going to do. Dude, you're about to find out what I'm going to do. And that's going to worry you a lot more.
And that's why they don't want us to have guns, is because they want all the control. And the minute that we turn the control onto them, where we have the power, yeah, they don't want that to happen. So they can keep doing their gross criminal shit. And I'm talking about the government. I'm talking about random people on the streets.
And that's what we need. That will change the concept of gun culture, as you call it, to something of reality, which is if I'm a hockey team and I got a guy bearing down on me as a goaltender, I'm not concerned about what he's going to do. I'm going to make him concerned about what I'm going to do.
I get that.
To stop him. That's when things change.
Obama's point was that the guys who are on the no-fly list because of terrorist connections, can get a gun pretty easily.
They can also make a bomb pretty easily.
Yeah.
So what? They can also get.
If they go to a store and have to register a gun, which I don't agree that we should be keeping track of everybody who has guns, but there is a list of people who have guns and what they own, where they're at, who they are, who their family is.
Knives and stab you. What are you going to do about that? They can get cars and run you over with them. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that?
They didn't kill the people in San Bernardino.
Oh, but they've killed others that way. Haven't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? Outlaw everything? That isn't the answer.
Just put some control.
Put some controls. What? So the people who want to defend themselves can't?
No, not so you can't. Just so the idiots can't get a hold of them. That's
Do
all.
you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that?
Yeah,
Are you seriously? What good will that? Oh my God! You and I just disagree.
Okay.
You and I just disagree. I
Let's illegalize cars, because there are some people that are going to run people over. And they're idiots. These idiots are going to buy cars and run people over. So let's make them illegal for everybody.
understand that you think that you can control the behavior of people that are dead set on taking your way of life away from you. I think you can control that.
No, I didn't
and
say
there's only one thing you can do with that, and say, no, dude, that's not going to happen. That's just not
We're
going to
going to
happen.
speak with you, man.
Good talking with you.
Good luck.
Yeah, and that interviewer probably thinks Kurt Russell's an idiot and a bigot, and that he won in that little spat that they had. But who went on The View after this? Not the interviewer.
Recently, you made some headlines for saying that you felt gun control laws wouldn't deter terrorists. Explain to folks.
Interesting.
Well, these are these things where, first of all, I was in a situation. We do what we call the dog and pony.
Right.
We're out doing the dog and pony selling a picture, and you get sometimes you get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda, and that's sort of
I think that's kind of what's happening here in this interview.
I think that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day. The last thing I like to watch is entertainers or actors get political. It's just something I can't stand.
True, and aren't all these people entertainers and actors on this show who are always political and they have no idea ever what they're talking about?
Watching.
And they lie and say that they do know what they're talking about. That's how they lie. They're not lying about the things that they're talking about. They're lying about knowing what they're talking about.
So having said that, no, I was kind of asked to put it in context somehow with this movie. You know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between Fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's Fantasyland. And that's where that stuff belongs. In reality, when we're dealing with things like terrorism and whatnot, we're all going to have different opinions on how to do it and how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason founding fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War. If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life, their way.
Yeah, if they didn't believe that they should have had guns, then there would have been no Revolutionary War. And people want to say, oh, well, that's in the past. We're not in those times anymore. We don't have to declare war on our nation for our freedom. It's starting to look that way, man. It's starting to really look that way. And we've got constitutional carry just out the wazoo. All the states are coming out on constitutional carry, and then the other ones that aren't constitutional carry are straight up against it. Who's going to win that war? The people with the guns. Who's going to suffer? Everybody.
Their style of living. So I agree with that. I think that's an important part of our existence, and it's basically that simple.
I was just looking in the New York Times this morning, and the guy interviewed many people from the Midwest and from the West about San Bernardino. And the basic conclusion is that there's everybody out there has this feeling of anxiety about when's the next one.
No, I think so how you connect the dots for me?
I think that there's a feeling about shootings and violence that's different now in 2015 than it was in the mid-90s.
Oh, sure. It's not the 90s, and we're in 2015.
But Quentin's doing the same game, more or less.
Quentin does what he does, yeah. Quentin's, he's like painting a picture, he's like writing a story, or he's like a filmmaker.
Right.
No, I think that to mix and match reality with fantasy is...
Right, and acting like there aren't criminals out there who can get you at any time. And to pretend that there aren't, and to say that, oh, why would you be living scared, is retarded. I'd be living scared if I didn't have weapons. But I have weapons, so I know that I'm all right.
Something I don't understand, but that's just me.
And I actually kind of dare criminals because we got way too many of them, and if one of them crosses paths with me, then there might be less criminals.
I think that we should understand the difference. I think that, to mix today's politics with, for instance, in this case, a fictional tale about just right after the Civil War.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about ground level, water table, a feeling that's in people's bones that this New York Times piece was talking about. People are genuinely, between Paris and San Bernardino, there's this thing that sudden violence as a normal day-to-day aspect coming from the gun culture, coming from everything else. It's a different vibe,
I don't understand the concepts of conversation of the gun culture. We've lived with guns since, the 7th century or something? I don't know.
We all know that right now, guns is a trope. It's it's not a trope, it's a totem, it's a metaphor that disenfranchised white guys need. It makes them feel good because they're being.
Oh, okay. This was the beginning part of that interview. Okay, I see now. Well, that guy's just absolutely wrong. And where does he get off living in his coochie L.A. environment? Most likely, maybe New York. I know he was living in some place like that back in 2015. Wasn't that bad. Around 2018, 2019, started getting real bad, and now it's just out of control. So, where's this guy now? You got to be peaceful, man. You got to be peaceful, and then you get stabbed in the streets trying to talk it out. That ain't how I'm going out.